Thank you everyone for showing up this evening. It means the world to me to see you here. Give yourself a bit of an applause. I first read my first BookThug title about 10 years ago, and I think right after I was done the last page, I said to myself, this is where I want to be. So thank you so much, Jay and Hazel, for giving me this opportunity. It's been an amazing journey. A well-established poet sent me an email right after it was announced that I would be published with you folks saying, BookThug is not just on the rise, BookThug is the place to be. So thank you for letting me be part of that place. Anyway, enough of that. I'm just going to read now. This is the book, A More Perfect, as Jay said. It's a reverse rhetorical translation of a political speech where I break a speech down to its rhetorical properties. I am reading from the book, but because I'm a bit blind, I'm going to be reading from something with a bigger font. Name of municipality, name of state, province, or region. Name of month, name of date of month. Name of year, all Gregorian. As prepared for delivery. Begin speech with relevant historical quotation, quote, plural pronoun, definite article, collective plural noun, comma, preposition, verb, idiom, preposition, verb, indefinite article, comparative adverb, adjective, noun, period, end quotes. State how long ago these words were spoken. State exactly where they were spoken, the proximity to where we are now. Give a veiled idea of how many people were there. Gender these people who were there when these words were spoken. Highlight the ease in which any collection of words is spoken, and then contrast that ease with the potential impact that words could have on a country's political ideology. Allude to an engagement between the working class and the information class. Allude to an engagement between the political class and a transcending term for those who love their country. Make mention that these groups had all conjugated to where these words were spoken, when these words were spoken, for similar reasons these words were spoken, and reference the specific legislative action that was taken following these words being spoken. Be sure to highlight that the legislative action that was taken following these words being spoken was indeed a physical action and not merely a theoretical one. Provide a disclaimer to the above statement that the physical action taken to fulfill the theoretical action remain in itself an incomplete action. Remind the audience that unanimously hated active racial subjugation not only delayed the physical and theoretical action that was taken following these words being spoken, but that also unanimously hated active racial subjugation was fundamentally connected to the history of relevant nation. Make sure to note that the issue of unanimously hated active racial subjugation was a particularly controversial one that divided relevant nation on geographic lines. Make sure to note that the issue of unanimously hated active racial subjugation divided those present when these words were spoken to the extent that the physical action taken to fulfill the theoretical action remained in itself an incomplete action in regards to unanimously hated active racial subjugation for an approximate amount of time after these words were spoken. Note that those present when these words were spoken chose a general term for a group of people to be born at a later date as the adequate party to take theoretical and physical action regarding unanimously hated active racial subjugation as it pertained to legislative action. Now beginning with the use of an idiom. Assure the audience that the theoretical action for unanimously hated active racial subjugation was something fundamental to the physical action taken after these words being spoken. Exclaim that the action taken after these words being spoken had essentially contained an ideal regarding the nature of fairness under an organized judicial system. Add that the action taken after these words being spoken contained the following attributes. 1, had promised freedom from arbitrary or despotic control. 2, had contained the moral principle determining just conduct. 3, had defined the terms for a group of political bodies with the ability and need to become the concept of the ideal over the progress of an unspecified amount of dates. Interject this list of favorable characteristics regarding the theoretical action taken after these words being spoken by highlighting the fact that the theoretical action taken after these words being spoken was insufficient in materializing as a physical action regarding unanimously hated active racial subjugation. Clarify in the second clause of this sentence that the theoretical action taken after these words being spoken should have, but failed to, apply in full to two of the genders included in all racial groups and all religious affiliations actively associated with relevant nation. Emphasize that the burden regarding unanimously hated active racial subjugation had to be shifted to those who came after these words being spoken. Now, divert mid-phrase in order to reinforce this point by providing broad examples. Divert mid-phrase in order to reinforce this point by providing spatial examples. Divert mid-phrase in order to reinforce this point by providing historical examples. Underscore that those who came after these words being spoken stood to lose short-term in pursuing the above examples. Now return to your original point, highlighting that those who came after these words being spoken remain with the burden of the disconnect between theory and practice, of the action taken after these words being spoken in their particular historical context. Bridge a connection between the action that was taken following the aforementioned words being spoken and the current historical moment as it pertains to those present. Clarify that this has always been a policy objective of great importance. Dramatize this connection between the action that was taken following the aforementioned words being spoken and the current historical moment as it pertains to those present by using a physical metaphor. Emphasize that the physical metaphor you are using is helpful in articulating the goal of achieving list of abstract ideals for relevant nation. Transition now from the collective we to the first person I, while still emphasizing that your current status as a candidate for relevant office stems from a need for the collective we. Make the point that all contrasts inherent in the collective we are derived merely from one's own personal narrative. Confront these differences by emphasizing a list of similar personal aspirations. Continue to flesh out this point by highlighting obvious differences of appearance and location. Drive this point home by returning to the physical metaphor as it pertains to the need for the collective we. Articulate that the physical metaphor symbolizes improved conditions for one's own kin at a later date. State that your optimism is grounded in the confidence that list of flattering qualities can be attributed to the citizens of relevant nation. Use this last statement as a springboard to reintroduce your own first-person narrative and how it pertains to the goals of the collective we. Pause for applause. Thank you.